So now we're into 1991, and we're just doing 91 because you had quite a bit of action that happened in 91. It sounds
like. 91. I was, still flying the old Baron, and a lot of time with the Grumman too, and just got some pictures of that. And I remember one of the first flights on January 1991 in the Baron, just taking a local flight. I actually went to Portland in the thing, and the door opened on the way. And so when the door opens on a Baron, or on a 310 for that matter, you got to land it and get the door closed. There's no way to close that damn door when you're in the air. So it just makes a lot of racket. A lot of people get pretty scared and crash their airplanes when they get the door gets open. But
did it pop on takeoff or during cruise?
No, it was mostly on takeoff, probably because I didn't latch it properly. And that's usually what happens. It happened to me once up in Bellingham too, when I was heading up into Canada. But then I had to turn around and land right away and close the door right. So, yeah. That's
there have been people that have actually crashed.
Yeah.
Because of panicking in that situation.
Yeah, the door open because it makes a lot of noise. And if you're by yourself, there's no way you can close the door. And if you're a passenger, I remember one time in the old 310, the door opened and I had 4 or 5 guys and we were on our way to Sun River or someplace, and it scared the guy so bad that when we started headed home, he said, "No, I'm taking a bus." So,
really?
Yeah, I did. I took a bus home.
Oh.
So yeah. Anyway, and then I flying the Grumman around for a while, the TR2 and or A1, however you want to call it, and then did buzz jobs in Ned Olinger and then trip around the Cascades and the thing and so forth, and then about that time I added on the vortex generators on the Baron because I told you earlier that the Baron, when it stalled with a single engine stall, it could go into a spin that is not recoverable. Even if you can get both engines running, it's not recoverable. I mean, you can get the thing turned this way or get the thing turned that way, but it's not recoverable. In fact, I had up and tried some stuff, and it reduced the stall speed by 9 knots, and so gave you a lot better control. But even then, I didn't want to do any single engine slow flights. So, but it did.
Well, I can remember going up there and doing stalls with the vortex generators.
Yeah, but two engine stalls.
Two engine stalls, not single engine stalls. Yeah, but I remember it made a huge difference in the way it stalled.
Oh yeah,
it was marshmallowy. It was
right.
Yeah.
It really was a good addition, so I've always used that, on twins and so forth. So that was always fun. And then probably for the next 3 months, I parked the 310, and I was busy because I was traveling. The Baron, yeah, parked and spent a lot of time knocking around with the Grumman when I was back in town because I was traveling overseas all the time doing the tunnel boring stuff and setting up a new company, my new getting ready for the new consulting company I was going to have. And I think the next fun trip I had was when Jeff and his girlfriend at the time, Mary, we got in the plane and flew down to Sun River. And he's got some pictures of that, where Sun River, just a great place to fly into for the day, and beautiful weather and all that. And spent a couple days there, and then came on home. And that's always fun with the Baron. And about that time, I took it shortly thereafter over to Boeing Field and had him install a strike finder because I was doing more and more instrument flying. And when you're flying over the Rockies, it's nice to know where all the thunderstorms are to stay away from them. And the strike finder really worked, kept me away from them. So it was a good addition. I think it was about $2,800 or something for a strike finder. Really a good thing. And I'm trying to think. Our next big trip that we did take was to Sun River, and then from Sun River we went on down to Reno, and then San Diego, and did kind of a business trip down there, meeting a bunch of guys and so forth. I remember coming back from that one, went to Klamath Falls because the weather was getting really, really crappy, and then so we went to the east of the mountains, the Cascades, and went up that way until we got to the gorge the next day, and it just thunderstormed around. We had a kind of scud run all the way down the gorge, which is okay because there's no mountains in the way. You can see the water usually. And in the storms, so work kept me out of the thunderstorms, then cut up and ended up getting all back to Crest after about a week doing that. Then shortly thereafter, I think this was in August of '91, I had a business trip and I was going to fly down to Portland, and which I did whatever it was we were doing. We were, I can't remember the conference, but anyway, about a couple of days later, we were heading back from Portland back to home, Crest Air Park, and so I got clearance off the Portland airport, got up to 8,000 feet, and I didn't transfer my release from the airport to the other controllers, and then some guy from United Airlines called up and said, "Hey, that idiot in the Baron, he didn't even call in for you," and he turned me in.
Was that when you were off departure control and you didn't contact center?
Yeah, and it was, and I can't remember if that was an instrument departure or not. I thought it was just a VFR departure, so what's the big deal? I mean, I could see it was IFR.
Maybe you had flight following or something.
But I think what happened was that I got VFR out of Portland to about 4,000 feet, and then it went IFR, and then I changed my release from a VFR departure to an IFR departure, and then they cleared me and so forth, but I didn't make my official transfer to the center, so anyway, they got me.
Now somewhere in this year you had the situation where you had like 5 people in the airplane and you were looking at doing some kind of tunnel boring for...
Oh, yeah, that was later on in the fall, but before that, I think I was taking the Baron to Abbotsford. You know, they have an air show there, up there in Canada, and normally you can clear customs at Abbotsford, so I filed, that's just going to go VFR. And I left Crest Airfield, got up to about 4,000 feet, and all of a sudden the clouds just came in. Abbotsford went IFR, and I said, oh, hell, I'll just go back to Crest and then go later. But then Crest became IFR, so I had to file an IFR, air IFR plans into Boeing Field, made a fairly minimum IFR approach, called up Abbotsford so I could get a release and into Abbotsford IFR, and I did, and took off out of Boeing instrument departure. Got up to about 8,000. It was clear. Got up to Abbotsford and had to make an instrument approach. Broke out at about 300 feet. So that's the minimums. Scary. And landed. And it was crappy weather for the whole 2 or 3 days like that. No air show. No nothing.
So all that.
Yeah, all that for nothing. Anyway, but Abbotsford always was a lot of fun. And I had a manufacturing plant up in Canada, so I could theoretically use that for business. And then you're talking about that one trip. Where I had 4 or 5 guys in the airplane, and we were, I was in the business of digging tunnels at that time, so the government wanted me to go down there and investigate in south of Las Vegas, where they were thinking about digging tunnels through the hard rock south of Vegas to store radioactive material out of the generating plants. So I had 5 guys in the airplane, and it was a 5-hour and 30-minute trip to get nonstop from Crest all the way down to Las Vegas. And so by the time everybody got there, I mean, we had had a girl on board and 3 or 4 guys and me, or 3 guys and me, and by the time we got there, everybody had to take a pee, but there was, a lady on board. We had to be careful, and so. We did get down there in time, but boy, it was hurt. It was a tough landing because, it was bathroom call time.
Yeah, everybody was
done. Get the hell out of the airplane. Yeah, get that done.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, but we did take up out of Crest. We were probably 200 pounds over gross, full of fuel, and with the 5 people and myself. So, but the Baron handled it really well. Made a good trip out of it. So, that was fun. And then I think. Just the days pass, and we're now kind of spending a lot of time in the Grumman because I'm overnight traveling overseas. But in one time with the Grumman, we were out flying, and it's a beautiful sunny day, and that's the same day that and Jeff and I both can't remember this exactly. I just have a note here in my log about the fact that 172 crashed on 293rd Street at Crest Air Park, and the pilot was killed. And I'm trying to recall, maybe you can do some research and find out what that was about that. It happens. We probably had 5 or 6 people killed at Crest Airport during the 30 years I lived there. So, and then I think our last big fun trip was taking the Grumman up to LaConner and then flying through Deception Pass. Now, Deception Pass is been around, famous place to go take your boat through because it's high currents and low clouds. And I can tell you some boating stories about that, but that's another issue. So I flew the old Grumman through Deception Pass, and it was kind of fun. And then I think the last Baron flight in 1991 was in November, and we just took it up and flew around and burned off some gas and took it back down and backed the thing around and blew all the leaves off the lawn and down by the hangar. Blew them onto my neighbor's yard. He's been yelling at me ever since, but. So
yeah, he never did appreciate that.
Yeah, I know. But he's been it the other way. So but I got 2 engines and he's only got 1, so I win. So that was 1991.
All right, great. Thank you, Dad.
Okay.